grateful today. Angie's going to be joining us about internet lead conversion. My exposure to Angie has been because of your world. And you've created like a massive lead generation opportunity. And I would say there's not a lack of leads out there, you guys. Like leads are, anybody can get leads now. They could vary how much they cost and whatever. But what there is a lack of is lack of lead conversion. Because just fun fact, you guys, there's 125 million online leads sold every single year. 125 million. There are 5 million homes sold annually. Now, during the pandemic, it was 6.8. Last year in the US, it was like 4.8. On average, outside of the pandemic, 5 million homes sell across the United States of America, okay? So that lead, your SOI, your neighbor, your Zillow lead, your Facebook lead, whatever, is sold or is in 25 other people's databases. Like that's just facts. So this business comes down to lead conversion. So if you ever hear me speak on this, I'm like, there's not a lack of leads, it's a lack of lead conversion. And so I'm really grateful and excited today to have Angie here with us because Joe, you're a master at creating the leads. And then Angie has been fortunate to plug into your world and be able to convert them. And so today is all about Angie sharing how she's converting. I don't know your exact number, so you guys are going to have to share, but you've sold, this is where I was shocked. Angie, how long have you been in real estate for?
7 years.
Okay. So like, I just look at you and not that 7 years isn't a veteran, but I've been like, I look at Angie like she's just like this agent that's been around forever. And it's like, you're actually pretty new into the world of real estate. And so I'm really grateful Angie's here today to share with you how she's primarily, is most of your business coming from online leads and lead conversion?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So she's going to be sharing that. So Joe, you can chime in, but that's my to it.
No, you're spot on. So here's how it all happened. 4 years ago, I was primarily responsible for recruiting to our brokerage that we owned here in Las Vegas. I sent out an email and Angie responded. She came into my office and met, and I think that year, Angie, I don't remember, it was like 28 or 30 deals you did. It was your second year in real estate. And the leads that she were converting were really hard leads to convert, not because people wouldn't talk to her, but because the deal structure was tough. So the leads that she was working were down payment assistance, credit repair, military special programs. So it was like, holy crap, if she can do that with that, imagine what she could do with my world. Now I'll just tell you, as a lead creator, to Spring's point, lead generation is really easy for me. But in order to continue to do what I do at a high clip, we needed people to prove out our concept. And so Angie in 2021 closed, I think it was like 60 transactions. It was like 58 to 64, I can't remember. And 48 of them had some connection to being leads. They were either leads or referrals from leads. She's an absolute beast. Now I'll tell you, most people aren't willing to pay the price that Angie pays. And it's not a heavy price. I think the challenge is in real estate, we all want to make doctor, lawyer money, but we don't want to work doctor, lawyer hours. So it's like, I want to make $400,000 a year, but I only want to work 2 hours a day. Well, Angie decided, like, I'm going to actually put in the work. I'm going to actually have the conversations. And then I'm going to actually close 50, 60 transactions a year. She's one of my favorite people on earth. She's a hammer. And so here's why I say that, like, to a hammer, everything's a nail. Well, to Angie, every opportunity is an opportunity to put a deal together. She's so great at what she does. I'm very, like, if you ask me, I have like 20 favorite songs. I have 20 favorite places to go on vacation. The definition of favorite is like you get one, right? And I have 20. Angie there's not 20 of them. She is the best lead conversion specialist I've ever seen in the real estate space. And there's not 20, there's only one. So Ange, we'll turn some time over to you.
Yikes. Okay. Well, that was lovely. Thank you so much for that. So sometimes what Joe does is Joe asks me questions, but I think he's just going to have me talk. So every month, once a month, I do teach a class where I just talk the whole time. So I'm a lot better at this than I once was. For those of you who know, when I started, it was not pretty when I would just talk. But I was thinking a lot about this. I didn't get a great night's sleep because even though I've done this a lot, I've talked to groups of people a lot about lead conversion. I was like, I need to say something different. So one of the things that I noticed from when I first started with you, Joe, to now is that I am actually working less than I used to, but my focus time is like hyper focused. So I used to work a 9-hour day where I would come in, and I was trying to break that down last night. I was like, what does that day look like? So what that day used to look like was most of the time I was talking to other agents about lead conversion and how to convert leads. And that would take up half of the day. But then when I was trying to figure out how many hours am I solid working a day on lead conversion. So I think I finally have that secret. And the thing is, it actually doesn't take that long to be hyper focused that way. So this wonderful friend of mine named Justin has, been telling everybody that any agent that has 20 conversations a day will never worry about money. And I cannot tell you how true that is, because I don't always have 20 conversations a day. But when you're first starting and you're trying to build up that pipeline and get to the point where it's going to be follow up, you have to have the 20. Because in order to set up your follow-up so that you have at least 12 people that you're following up with every day, you've got to be having that 20 to set that groundwork, right? So right now, I'd say I probably, on average, Monday through Friday, I'm having between 10 to 12 conversations, because I've already built that up where I was having 20 conversations every day, probably more than that for, I would say, my first 3 years in real estate. Oh, there's Deborah. Hi, Deborah.
So Angie, can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
So what I heard you say, because I think I am going to ask you some questions, because I think anyway.
Or I'll
what I
ramble.
heard you say, yeah. Well, what I heard you say though was, hey, I used to work a 9-hour day, but when I actually analyzed what my day looked like, I was spending half of it talking to other agents on things that did not make me money. Yes or no?
Yes.
Some
of it made me money. Some of it did.
Yeah, but you talking to them about how they can convert leads. So you were providing value to them, which thank you. But the reality of it is like half of your day was spent where you were running around with the chicken with their head cut off of, I'm working so much, I'm 9 hours a day. But half of it was spent on activities that did not make you money. The reason I point this out, you guys, like, if you take anything away from this call, like, you could get off the call right now and have that be a win, because a lot of times what I see agents do is they're busy, but not productive. They'll come into the office, they'll spend their 8 or 9 hours, and when they actually did a time audit of their day, they haven't done shit. And that's just the truth. I once had a coach that said, okay, I want a 15-minute time audit, 15 minutes for a week. Every 15 minutes, what are you doing? And when I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting so much time on things that do not make me money. And I think a lot of times we get in the office because we're supposed to work a 9 to 5. And so we feel like we're productive because we're there. But the reality of it is we're running around crazy, but we're not doing things that actually make us income. So I loved that awareness that you were like, hey, I'm going to take a step back. What do I actually spend my time on? Like, Angie, I just want to high five you through, because if anybody can do that, that would be a big aha. I guarantee you guys are not working the 40 hours a week that you think you are. Last thing I'm going to say on this, and then Angie's going to take back over on lead conversion. I heard this said, and it stuck with me, and I said it to my team, was when the market was kind of going through whatever it was going through and people were struggling and whatnot, and they're coming in here, but they weren't really working. I said, can I ask you a question? How would your wife or your husband feel to know that you took today off? or you didn't work this week? And that's a massive effing gut check when you actually look at what you're doing, right? Like how you're actually showing up. So I'm challenging you guys all this. You don't have to run around like a crazy person to be productive in this business. You just have to be purposeful. So back to Angie.
So let me ask you this, Angie. Spring, that was amazing. So the issue, I believe, exists in personal honesty. Like, if you looked at your world 2 years ago, it was just blunt force trauma, a lot of work, a lot of running around, a lot of mentorship conversations, and you've now tried to boil it down to say, how do I find moments of honest effort to where you're like, I don't need to work 9 hours sporadically. I need to work a smaller period of time in a focused way. How did you arrive at that moment of honesty to say, okay, I'm going to spend this amount of time undistracted, like no squirreling? How do you do that? Because there are people on this call who just need to be honest with themselves that what they call work, to Spring's point, isn't really work because they're not spending their time actually on productive effort. So how did you boil it down?
Well, this year has started off fantastically, right? But what has happened is now that I'm not mentoring so many people at the same time, I would get to my office, work on a little bit of social media, it'd be like an hour, and then I would squirrel and go down a little bit. And then it was like, okay, well, what are the things I actually have to do today? Because Joe, you know me, I'm a to-do list person. And so right. Outside of, my work with the team, I'm like, okay, what do I need to actually do to put numbers on this board right here? So I have been making myself say, okay, I've got to hit that 10 conversations now. And I say 10, 20 is a better number. If you don't, and I'm not bragging here, but if you don't have at least 3 deals on your board, you better be making 20 conversations a day. I have more than that. So I allow myself 10. So Monday through Friday, if I want to do this, that, or the other, go swimming, do any of that, I have to have that 10 conversations. And it doesn't matter how long it takes me. It doesn't matter what time of day I'm going to do it. But if you get through the 10, normally you can hit one person out of that where you're saying, okay, I'm going to check in with you tomorrow on the search, or I sent you over to the lender. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, that's like a drug. I'm like, oh, I got to have some more of that. Like, let's get some more. So at that 10 point, I will text my team and I'll say, hey, you guys, I'm at 10. Where are you guys at? And it's not that I'm bragging to them. I'm trying to motivate them. Like, hey, I'm sitting here like you are, and this is tough. And I sometimes will get on social media and I'll say, like, I'm sitting here, I don't want to make more calls, but I'm going to do it because I won't let myself get up from the chair until I have 10. And
so Angie, is it fair to say that you enjoy the work as much as you enjoy the results? Have you, because
I love the results for sure.
You love the results, but you seem to enjoy the work. Like when I see you and you're at your happiest, you've just made, 100 dials, had 14 conversations, set 3 people up on searches, sent 4 people to the lender. And it's like, I've seen you celebrate closings, but for the most part, even a monster that closes 40 deals a year, if you only celebrate the closing, you're only giving yourself 40 out of 365 good days. You've found a way, in my experience, to celebrate the other 325 days of the year by enjoying and celebrating the work. Because if we only celebrate the results, we only get to celebrate, a massive producer only gets to celebrate 40, 50 days out of the year.
I am excited every time I get off the very first phone call. Like I got a lead last week and I was with my mom, and my mom hates driving with me in the car because if I get a lead, I'm like this. Sorry, Mom, I'm going to take this because I prefer to call instead of text. Like there's our first text that we shoot out. And if I absolutely can't call, I'm going to send that text. But I got on the phone. The guy was fantastic. And my mom is terrified. I'm in the Tesla. And of course, I'm not using the drive feature, and I'm like making the notes. And she's like, oh my God, please. But they're like, we need to sell our house. And we're really excited. And we've been looking for this, this, and this. And we've already talked to a lender. Like that to me, that and getting a deal, getting my offer accepted are the most two exciting days of all of it. So anytime I have a good search or I get to look in or the people are talking to me and they're excited about the house, I'm excited. So
how do you handle rejection? Because it doesn't seem to faze you the way it phases other people.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the rejection part of it is that if everybody said yes, no one would be on this call, right? There would be nothing to do. It would be like how they talk about Michael Jordan practicing and Tom Brady practicing. Like those people all practice like more than they're out on the field and practice all the time because they know that that's what makes them better. And so now I forgot your question. Sorry.
No. So guys, this is like treasure. This is gold, what she just said. What she basically said is she's found that for her, she's willing to have the conversation you're not willing to have and deal with the rejection you're not willing to deal with. And because of that, she gets the results you're not getting. I don't know if you felt that or not, but it was like, I realized that dealing with the no is what sets me apart so that I could eventually have more yeses than everybody else. I hope you saw that. I hope you caught that. And if you're running a team, that should be like a poster. Like, Ange, that's so great. I think that was such a great point.
The no part of it, the no is when you actually get to practice the craft. Because when they're saying yes, there's nothing to learn from. Oh, the location, you gave me the price, you have a house to sell, it's 123 Maple Street. That's an easy call. Where you actually learn how to get better is when somebody keeps saying no and you get a little breakthrough. All you got to do, I keep switching it. If somebody says no, it's like, let me try here. Let me try here. Let me try here until they hang up. And if they hang up, that means, okay, I screwed up on that question there. I'm going to phrase it differently next time. And then if they say no on the phone call, it's really easy to send a text a couple of days. I know you said no to this, but what about this? Every no gives you another question, because if they don't say no, you have nothing else to ask.
No, so this is Angie's basically Groundhog Day lead conversion. Groundhog Day is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And what's missed in the movie is the progression that Bill Murray's character makes as a human being. Like if you notice, like the people that annoyed him initially, by the end of the movie, he's just kind and compassionate. And it's ultimately he learning how to love in real life. I could geek out on Groundhog Day all day. But what Angie's saying is, like, there were the times where he was trying to get the girl and she would slap him. And then it would show the next day he would say something else. And she would slap him. And then the next day she would like hold his hand. And so it was like slap, slap, progress. Angie's doing that with lead conversion, where she's like, oh, okay, that killed the conversation. Scratch that. I'm going to move on to the next one. Ange, what is your playbook? So you get a lead, and I know you kind of follow a very specific set of like, we do this, then we do this, then we do this. Is there some steps that you can share that kind of like every lead goes through?
I'm very anal about the process, because when they come in and I give myself a 14-day period. If, a lot of people find that 14-day period really hard to stick to, because you can't call a lead the first time and then call it again 14 days later. They found a house with somebody else for sure. So I try to tackle everything. If you can get everything within the 14 days, which in the 14 days is really more like 10, because you're only working 5 days a week, I think. And I think that's actually pretty generous. I think most agents will work 2 days a week on the leads, and then they're either out in the field making videos, doing other things. But if you really want to make money off of leads, you have to call 5 days during the week, and you have to have, everybody's CRM is different, but the first phone call, you could get all the information, and then you set up into follow-up mode, which if somebody wants to, if they're ready to go, you've got to be checking in and sending houses twice a week, or at least once a week, right? But if you don't get all the information on that first call, you have to keep it in my everyday call person. Hey, Joe, I know you were running into work yesterday. You said you wanted to buy in Las Vegas. What is our budget? Or what is our must-haves? Like, there always has to be another question. That's another thing that's with the texting, because usually you only get that one chance to get them on the phone, and then the texting part of it kicks in. So I do tell agents, never send questions that have a period on the end, ever, when you're texting. It's always got to have a question mark. And unfortunately, you cannot send 3 questions in the same text. It's like trying to make out with somebody on the first date, like before you've even had a drink. Like, it's not possible. You can't rush, or they're going to be like, I ain't answering all that. I'm in the grocery line and it's my turn. Like, one question at a time, and like short question.
So can we back up for one sec? Because this is so good. Okay, so let's role play this if you're open to it, because I would love for that initial conversation. So a lead comes in, and you have their phone number, right?
Have their phone number.
So do you call them or you text them first?
I want to call them first, because if you talk to them, you can kind of catch them off guard. Most of the time, they are not ready to talk to you, because our leads are primarily Facebook. I don't have a lead coming in, from Zillow Flex saying, I want to see 123 Maple Street. That's a lot easier, right? But on Facebook, I'm saying, hi, Spring, it's Angie from Facebook.
Okay.
How are you?
So you start it, hey, it's Angie from Facebook. So you don't say, I think this is powerful, you guys. You don't say, hey, it's Angie from the Lauer home team, or it's Angie from whatever. And Zillow teaches you this as well, you guys. So Zillow teaches you, say, hey, it's Spring with Zillow, or I'm Zillow's preferred agent. So I love that you're like, hey, it's Angie from Facebook. So then from there, so let's role play it. I'll be the consumer. So I'm like, hello.
Hello, is this Spring?
Yes.
Hi, Spring, it's Angie from Facebook. You had asked for some information on the page, and I wanted to get you those details as soon as possible. What was it that you wanted to know?
So can I ask you, do you say you ask for information on a home? Because I would think Angie from Facebook, like without context of a home, I'd be like, what do you call me from Facebook? So do you?
I say, I'm calling you from Facebook. You asked for information on our page. Okay. And most of the time they already know. Okay. But if they say something like Facebook, then I say, yeah, you were looking at the homes, remember? Oh yeah.
Okay. So then, I'm just looking. I saw the picture of the home and it was intriguing. I'm just looking.
And then, okay, that's great. Do you own a home already, or are you renting?
We own a home.
Perfect. Okay. Are you looking for something that your home doesn't have, or is there just something special about the home? Do you have a pool now?
I don't have a pool now. I just saw the picture and it looked intriguing. Like, of course I would love a pool. But I was just curious.
It's gorgeous. Let me pull this up real quick. So it looks like the cross streets are going to be, and then I'll tell them the cross streets. Is that an area that you live in now, or is that something that you would consider?
Yeah, I live nearby. I'm not really looking to move though. I was just curious.
Okay. So what were you curious about? Was it the lot size, or a bigger home, or is there something maybe that your house doesn't have now that this home got you curious about?
Yeah, I saw that had a pool, and I would love to have a pool. So I was just curious what the house itself looked like. It doesn't really match exactly that would make me want to move.
Okay. Well, what are the must-haves that you're looking for? What's something that would make you move from the house you have now?
I'd want a pool. I'd want to be east side of 89, My child still stay in the same school district. More of a secluded yard, blah, blah, blah. Okay, keep going.
Okay, okay. So if I get all of that in, what's a good price range for you? I can send you some things to look at that might work that are still in the same school district if you'd like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can put me on a search. I mean, ideally anything under $1 million.
Okay, okay. There's going to be a lot of good choices. What's your email address?
It's spring@liveutah.
Okay, all right. Now, the house that you have now, are you going to keep that for an investment, or do you need help selling that to make this next purchase?
Well, I was really just looking, so I wasn't planning on selling, but
You're selling that thing, Spring. It's
Yeah.
No,
it's sold.
Spring, let me tell you a little story about just looking. So when I was just looking, I bought my house. So this is how it starts, and no pressure. When you see the house that you like, all of a sudden you're not looking. So I can just send you some things, no pressure at all. You're the one that's in the driver's seat.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Angie.
And so that was great. I think something which is amazing, and I'm glad Spring pointed out as well. If you've ever seen the trusted professionals list, realtors are very low. like attorneys somehow are trusted more than us. So Angie doesn't say it's Angie with the Angie Lauer home team or whatever. She'll reference where they came from. So if you're doing Instagram, it'd be like, hey, what's up? It's Joe with Instagram. Or from Instagram. Hey, this is so-and-so from Zillow. Hey, this is so-and-so with Google, whatever. Because they trust it, you're using the trusted brand. I don't know that I've heard that before. That I think that's really good, Ange. The other thing is, one of my favorite reels I've ever done on Instagram is my happily married people don't have Tinder accounts.
That's exactly, I'd like that. That's what I want you to hit on, because here's the thing, you guys, I'm not moving. Like my house I live in, it's like, I've got the 2.5 interest rate. It's like, I'm like what every typical homeowner is right now. But to your point though, Angie, I looked, something had me click on that Facebook lead. Like I looked at it. So there is something in the back of my mind that I'm like, well, if I could have this, this, and this, I would make that move. And you did a fantastic job of kept on asking questions, right? Like, so back to Joe, what you were going to say, like happily married people aren't on Tinder. Well, happily people aren't looking at homes either, you know?
Yeah, I think a good question that Taylor came up with around this topic, because we hear just looking all the time, is like, well, what does just looking mean to you? Like for some people, just looking means if I find the right house, I'm going to move in 3 months. For some people, just looking is a way to get rid of salespeople, but they are actually interested. And so it's like getting their answer to what does just looking mean? Because Taylor did it one time and asked somebody like, what does just looking mean to you? And they're like, well, we're not very serious. We're probably 3 months out. Well, for us as real estate professionals, 3 months out is go time. But for the consumer, just looking meant, you know, I don't want to waste anybody's time because I can't make a decision for a few months. So I think that's really good. And I love, now I'll tell you, because I've seen it in person, what Angie just did with Spring was not hyped up for a role play. She literally will not let people off the hook. People will go like, yeah, no, I'm just looking. Oh yeah, I get it. But blank. No, I get it. But what do you need blank? Yeah, I get it. But what made you curious? So it's like she brushes right past it, because it's almost like we have to know that if somebody walks into our bakery, that they want to eat sugary sweet goodies. Like that's why they're there. If someone is on, if your significant other, you find out they have a Tinder account, they're trying to hook up with other people. Nobody just browses Tinder. Well, if you are curious enough on Instagram, Facebook, Zillow, Google, wherever, to put your information in, to get information about a house, you obviously, there's something underlying to Spring's point. There's something in the back of your head. There's some unfulfilled need or desire in your housing situation that is going to push you and make you willing to have this conversation. So, Ange, what are some of your so there's there's conversation, there's conversion, there's close. Once somebody says to you, here's what I'm looking for, you set them up on a search criteria. You don't stop there. So once Springs told you, I want to be east of the 89, under $1 million, and I want a pool, what do you do then?
I would, other than those things, I would try to find out a few other must-haves. Like that's definitely a question that I want to know, other must-haves. And then once they're on the search and I know when their lease is up or if they're going to sell or buy or whatnot, then I need to check in with those people every week. I need to check to see if they're checking their search. And if they are, I can see what they've looked at and what they haven't. So I'll go through the search and I'll send them the properties all from the week. Hey, did you see the one on 123 Maple Street? What did you think of that backyard? And I'll send them the link to it directly. I'm not just expecting them to look in their email all the time, because I think as real estate agents, I'm constantly in my email, but I don't think most people are. I mean, you can tell by your family members that have like 1,000 emails on the bottom of their phone and you want to puke. Like that's what regular people I think do. So I text them the houses and just say like, hey, I just saw this. What do you think of the lot? So I have a follow-up set up every week of people that I know are actively looking at the search, because typically if I set up a search, I'm going to set up a task for at least 2 days later to see if they open the search at all. And if they haven't, I send them a hot property out of it to say, hey, I sent you the search. It doesn't look like you've popped in yet. This one looks really nice. What do you think? So I'll keep hammering them in that way. And if they don't answer me 3 times, then I'm going to call them just to make sure that they didn't forget who I was, didn't forget that I set them up on an email search, and just kind of check where they're at. Because this whole system is all about the follow-up. So I haven't put a deal in contract in a week. And for myself, I'm like, oh crap, like I'm behind. And then yesterday, 2 of my clients, because I hammer them like at least every 2 weeks with properties, and not just through a drip, I'm sending them text message, even if I don't hear them, because I put in that groundwork. 2 clients asked me to see $2 million homes today, because of the work that I did over the last month. So everything you do this month is going to pay off next month. So I always have to think about that, because I'm like, oh, I'm dry. And then all of a sudden on Memorial Day, 2 people hit me up. I didn't hit them up. They hit me up. And that's because every day like that.
But I think this goes back to, and you guys hear me talk about this a lot, and I hope it's not demeaning. So many people got into real estate because their spouse turned to them and said like, oh my gosh, they made $14,000. You could make $14,000. And so it's this BS that we play, and none of us have ever acknowledged it. But the reality is Angie got into real estate because she was selling freaking drinks in a golf cart and wanted to build a better life for her family. Like she got into real estate because she wanted to have what she didn't have. Like her husband, Tim, is amazing. And he was a former Navy submarine sailor, and he's now gotten into lending. Angie wants a bigger life. She didn't get into this to close 2 deals a year to go on vacation. She got into this because she wants to become a millionaire. And so like Angie, some of that has to drive this, right? Because to be honest, the guy who's just trying to justify to his wife that he has a job sends emails and doesn't follow up. He puts people on drips and doesn't pay attention to the data analytics around the drips, right? Like that's what somebody who's just trying to justify their existence as a quote unquote realtor tries to do. You're on that grind of, I want to become a millionaire. I want to build something of legacy. So talk a little bit about your 30,000 foot high level goals. And then I just want to open it up to questions, and then Spring and I will wrap it up. But what are you trying to accomplish here? Because you work at a pace, like you are the Kobe. I saw this video yesterday. It's amazing, where Kobe was playing for Team USA and Pau Gasol was playing for Team Spain. And Kobe like ran right through Pau Gasol, his teammate, in normal life. But he said like, he's not my teammate right now. I'm Team USA, he's Team Spain. Kobe thought differently. Well, in my opinion, you think differently. So what are you trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to get with this?
Well, first of all, I'm trying to get back to the golf course because that was the best job ever. I was spending 8 hours in the sun and drinking cocktails. So I would say the thing that's crazy is I had no idea what real estate was going to be like coming from the golf course. I had no idea. And then, you know, a week ago, I said, like, I don't want to just go to Mexico. I want to go to Italy. And I was able to do that and not think about it. Right. So I think that for me, I want to have a business where I can just work 3 hours a day of focused time and have people calling me because of all of the work that I do in that 3 hours every day, and then do anything I want and have financial freedom, soul freedom to know that I can go to Italy for 12 days and I can talk maybe an hour a day about business while I'm gone and still have this life that functions like this. Because this really, if you put that time in, this really isn't that difficult. Like, and listen, you and Spring, you guys inspire me to like different levels. You guys are monsters. You probably can't do a 3 hour day and this work the way that you want it to work. But for guys that want to stay in production and still have a fantastic life and make $1 million a year, it's totally doable. And that's what I want. I want to, you know, I'm almost 50 years old. So I want to be working 3 hours a day and have this fantastic life. And I'm willing to put in that 3 to 5 hours of hard ass work so that I can have it. You know, I don't think that's that much.
5 to 8 hours by the end. Yeah, 5 to 8 hours.
It's 5 hours if you're on a roll and you want to like do the 5 hours comes in with the Instagram and the planning the posts and the shooting of the reel and editing and all that, which I'm crappy at.
Right.
But that's the kind of life I want to have. I never want to have to worry about money. I want to be able to take trips. I want my kids and my family to do whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, let's do this, guys. Let's open it up for questions, but let's also open it up for, I want to take a screenshot of who's on this, and I want to give you guys a shout out. If you are in a world where relationships with agents matter and you are not screenshotting this and putting it onto your world to say like, I love my world, I'm so grateful for it, you're losing. Like you're getting some good tips, but you're not capitalizing on the opportunity. So it looks like 12 more people to turn their cameras on. Everybody that's done it so far is super good looking. We have like 50 people on the call. I just need a few more. There we go. So we have some images. And in the meantime, be thinking about what kind of question you want to ask Angie. We've got, maybe 5 or 10 minutes for questions. She will answer anything. So I'm going to take a picture here in about 10 seconds. So you got to smile. Hold up a thumbs up, do whatever you want to do. I'm just happy spring is back.
Me too.
1, 2. Perfect. All right, questions for Ange. So Ange, let me just go back through some of this. Where are you getting your leads from? Database, FSBO, expired. Talk a little bit about what you do as far as sourcing of leads.
So my leads are all coming from Facebook, Joe Herrera over there. Okay. So Facebook, I mean, I've started with Facebook from the very beginning. They used to be forced registration. I dealt with a lot of, hi, can I speak to Donkey Kong? So they have definitely progressed since then. Facebook is where all the leads are coming from. If you need leads, you can talk to us offline because we know all about that, Joe. So yeah, Facebook. Okay.
So are you calling them as soon as they come inbound? Like, do you kind of drop whatever you're doing, pick up the phone and call?
So if you're running your own lead and they're coming through Messenger or they're commenting on your page, you have to talk to them right away. And the key is to get their phone number. And this is the thing, you guys, anybody, if you are getting Facebook leads and they gave their phone number to Facebook, I would never give my number to Facebook unless I wanted to buy something. So that's the other thing with the leads. Like if they gave their phone number and they're hanging up on you, they're in a bad mood. Call them back in a couple of days because nobody is going to give their phone number voluntarily to a salesperson and say, I don't want to buy. I just
if someone
who's doing
if somebody
that?
if somebody hits my wife up on Insta and she sends them a picture of herself in a bikini, we're going to have issues because like what she did showed she's got some intent, right? Like if you give your phone number to somebody, you have some intent. I need to make that video spring. All right. So Jillian said, give us a rundown of someone who's unhappy when you call them. So naturally, you're going to call people that are going to be like, oh my gosh, another sales call. What do you do in those instances?
But this is what we get when they're unhappy. Hi, is this Joe? Or Joe, just ask me. I'm going to say how they act.
So I'm you or I'm
sorry. Well, I'll just tell you what they do. If somebody's unhappy, here's what it sounds like. Hi, is this Angie? Yeah. Hey, Angie, this is Angie from the Facebook page. You were asking about houses? Yeah. Like that's literally what they do. Yeah. Well, what did you want to know? I wanted to help you. Well, I wanted to know the price and location. Okay, awesome. Let me pull that up real quick. It's in the Northwest. Does that work for you? I know you sound like you're busy. I just act like I'm just here to freaking help you. Like I'm not.
Yeah, she's gonna push through.
Because
you guys notice
are dicks when they first get on the phone.
Do you notice the tonality change in Angie's voice when she starts role playing? That's the same voice she uses on the phone, and it's slightly elevated, slightly faster paced, slightly more energetic than her traditional voice. Now, her traditional voice is fine, but all of a sudden when she goes into phone Angie, it's up a notch, a little bit more energetic, a little bit faster paced. All right.
I love that you said that too, Angie. I'm just trying to help you. Like, because they are annoyed, right? Like when you're calling, they're like, oh, you're calling me. But it's like, oh, hey, I'm just here to answer some questions and help you. Once you articulate that, then they're like, oh, well, I can't be a dick to somebody who's trying to help me.
Exactly.
Right. You know, I have actually said, oh, I'm sorry, you gave your phone number. Did you not want us to call you? Oh, yeah. Because it's like, you gave your phone. I just want to do, I can text. Is that better? I'll text you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite. Oh, go ahead, Spring.
No, I was going to say to what Joe said, your tonality is key, because if you're coming off like they're spicy to you and you come back spicy, or if you come back blah, then that's what you're going to get. But your tonality of like, oh, I'm sorry, like I'm just trying to help you, or oh, I'm sorry, would you rather me text you? Like you can't be a dick to somebody like that.
No,
right.
I just turn up the sugar.
So a good friend of mine once said there's no defense for love. Like if you love on people, it's indefensible. You can't fight against somebody that's giving you some love. So Susie asks, what do you do to revive old leads? So one of my favorite things is when somebody's like, oh, the leads suck and I'm leaving and whatever. You take their entire database and start calling, and you always find gold in there. So how do you revive old leads?
I will call them or I will text them. And my first text is going to be, is this still Joe? And I always think if I got a text like that, I would be like, this is an ex-boyfriend. Is this a drop? Like you can't help yourself, but you're like, yes, who's this? Yeah. That's the whole thing. And then
you go through the same process though. Then the conversation goes very similar once you get them on the phone, right?
But it's always from the Facebook page. If I am texting or I'm calling, I'm from the Facebook page, because the minute they hear that you're a realtor, it's like, oh crap.
Yeah. No, that's great. We need to start using that with our ISAs.
Yeah.
What tech do you use? Raquel asks. So she uses Chime. So I'll just tell you guys, if you have a CRM that doesn't have IDX attached to it, you're missing out. So Brett taught us that, Raquel. He was like, we were using Follow Up Boss, and then we were setting people up on searches on the MLS. And he was like, the analytical data companies are like the most valuable companies in the world. And if you're not getting the analytical data of what your people are doing on home search automatically uploaded into your CRM, then you're missing out on that. So Ange, you use Chime, you use home search on IDX search on Chime. What else do you use? Sisu, we track our conversations and.
Yep, I use Sisu. Definitely, like Sisu is kind of one of those things. I'm sure, I don't know who has kids and who doesn't. And if you don't have kids, you probably say, I hear my kids say a lot, it's so satisfying. I'm like, where the hell did you get that? But it's very satisfying to me because I like to see the numbers go up. It's like the opposite from the scale. Every time I add a number in Sisu, because I don't wait until the end of the day, I put it in as I go because I'm like, hell yeah, one closer to not doing any more work today. Oh, I got an appointment. And I actually put our 2 appointments that we had this morning in on the app. So anytime I'm putting it in, I'm like, somebody's going to look at that. It just is exciting to me. So I like using Sisu. I also use the MLS because you can share links from the MLS. Anybody that's using Chime, the opportunities that are coming in that you get like a text message for, that's a whole untapped resource that I don't think half of enough people are using, right, Tamara? Those opportunities, there's gold in them. So yeah, it's mostly just Sisu, MLS, Chime.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Well, Angie, go ahead.
Elise has a question. Elise is in my office.
Can we cover how you would handle the objection if somebody already owns a home and they have a 2% rate?
Oh yeah, how are you handling interest rate combos right now?
So when people bring that up, I am not pushing them to sell the house. I'm like, that's awesome. So have you ever spoken with a lender to find out if you can keep that home as an investment and buy another one? Because you're definitely going to be making more rent than your mortgage is right now. Have you ever thought about that? I love talking about that with people because that gets them excited. To own 2 homes. Woo!
I like that.
Yeah, you could almost feed their ego by like, I don't know if you've ever thought of yourself as an investor, but by keeping that home, you could become that real estate investor that you see everybody talking about building wealth, because now your interest rates, you know, I mean, like you can kind of ego feed. A great question, Elise. Ange, I'm so grateful for you. You know that we've traveled the world together. And you really are just one of those, she's a unicorn, to be honest, guys. Like if you're sitting there going like, how can I be like Angie? I'll tell you, what she says is powerful, 100%. But it's undeniable that her work ethic is her secret sauce. Because even if you aren't as good at what you say as Angie, just saying anything enough times will create opportunities. And like Angie she is one of those rare individuals that success breeds harder work. And that doesn't sound like a unique thing. But for the most part in our industry, when somebody closes a deal, they're like, peace, I'm out, right? See you in a couple months. When Angie closes a deal, what I found with her is she works harder the next day. And that's so rare. Because like, I remember I got my first check for $6,000 in 2001 as a 21-year-old kid. And I was like, well, sweet, I don't have to work for a couple months. This is awesome. Angie's got that. As soon as she experiences success, conversational, sending somebody to a lender, whatever it is, it motivates her to work harder the next minute. And I would say that is, she's very talented in that. So Angie, thank you so much. Go ahead and add one thing, and then we'll let Spring close it out. Yes,
I
please.
keep forgetting to say this. Now, everybody in your CRM, the people that you close that are leads in your CRM, they should stay there. And I just want to add that, you know, in Chime, we put them into closed. And so I keep that closed pipeline. They don't just go wither and die. I've added all of those people into my Facebook group that says the Lauer Home Team. We love our clients. And I post a bunch of stuff in there. I just had my first client appreciation party. And those people should become part of your month, so that every month, everybody that's in that closed funnel that you've done a deal with, you've got to send them a text that's either a local event in town or just to say hi. And you could send one thing that we do from the exactly what to say lingo is, Joe. We go in there. Sorry for the text out of the blue. I hope you and the family are doing awesome. I just came across this great deal. Do you know anyone looking for something like this? Now, I don't do that every month, but every 3 months, so that you're not annoying your past clients. But that is another great lead source too. So don't forget to do that, you guys. Sorry,
Well, and
that's
I'll
what
tell you what, I'm going to post this image that I took on my Instagram account. If you guys will pop in there and give me maybe 5 minutes and just put your number one takeaway from today's call, I'm going to give you Angie's Shark Text script that she uses. It's really, really good. She uses it to create and nurture so many relationships and reviving old dead leads. So maybe give me 5 or 10 minutes, pop on Instagram and just comment your number one takeaway from today. Give Angie a little shout out, and then I'll send you that script. Spring, close us out.
Just want to tell you thank you. When I think about lead conversion, I think about like call, text and all that, which I think is important. But what you really hit on today was owning your time, being purposeful with 3 hours, right? Having a certain amount of conversations, and then really like digging deep. Like so often people just tell you no or whatnot, and they accept the negative attitude of other people, and you just kept on going and put on the charm. And I think it's fantastic. So I just want to honor you and respect like what you're doing, and it's at such a high level. So it's very cool. Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Next week, we will do this again. Next week, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time.
I would love, guys, for those of you guys that are in if you've joined the network, on the website, there's a place to submit. Like, what do you want to talk about? Like, you have literally in our real world, we have access to anybody or anything. So, but we need your help. Like Joe and I can't every week be like, who wants to help teach, or who has value, or what should we? So if you guys will submit what you want to hear or who you want to hear from, we will get them on a call, or we will come prepared to teach it. So help us out by letting us know what you want to talk about and what you want to learn about. That would be super helpful. So
100%.
Yeah.
And more than anything, I'm just grateful that spring's back. So spring is back. It's a great day.
And guess what? I'm not going anywhere without a cell phone or a computer. So